Hey everyone, Mr. DigiWaz here, and I'm just dropping off a Cleric DPS 101. This is gonna teach you the basics of how a melee cleric plays out, so you can get the gist of it. Maybe even roll a cleric or spec your current cleric to DPS, cause it's a lot of fun in my opinion. So let's get to the spec. You have your basic DPS spec over here. You have full unwielding, full dauntless courage, full overwhelming, full long memory. Jolt. This might not seem like a good talent to pick up, but later levels it's going to be just ponage, because this procs every time you crit. And let me tell you, this Shaman tree it rolls around crits. It does nothing else. And Stormborn here, it helps a lot Jolt. This will increase the damage of your air spells, which includes Jolt. Brutalize, you definitely need to pick this up because Massive Blow is going to be a constant in your rotation. Lust for Blood is just a straight off DPS increase. You need to pick this one up. Strike a Maelstrom. This is your AoE, because other than Avalanche Strike you really have no AoEs. Battle Charge. You need to take this. This makes rolling around from one mob to another just that easy. It's basically a charge. Frozen Embrace, of course, it helps to have your big DPS, Massive Blow, crit even more, which if you add the brutalized DOT, it does that much damage. Eye of the Storm is definitely a must if you pick Strike a Maelstrom. And then you have the top of the tree, which is Rage of the North, which makes every hit you hit, of course, crit for 7 seconds. Now, let me tell you about Strike a Maelstrom. If you pick this, Strike a Maelstrom, and Eye of the Storm, together with Stormborn, this pretty much means that you can include Strike a Maelstrom in your single target DPS rotation, because it does a substantial damage, including the DOT. So, for sub-souls, there are two choices. You have Inquisitor here, which picks up critical hit chance and critical hit damage, together with Sentinel, which gets you more spell power, which is translated into attack power by Faith in Action. And then you have more critical hit damage by Walk in the Light. And you can see by this already that this is a crit heavy spec. And that's pretty much how Shaman rolls. Like in WoW, it's heavily dependent on crits. As far as playstyle goes, it kind of reminded me of how Paladin's Retribution at least played out in Wrath of the Lich King. You had a macro and you just spammed the hell out of that macro, monitor a few cooldowns, and other than that you need to do nothing. This spec is more of a DPS spec. You pick every possible DPS talent that you could get, which is a little drawback if you're looking for survivability. I do not recommend this for leveling. I recommend the spec that I'm gonna show you next. So this is the same Shaman focused tree, except you, instead of picking Inquisitor, pick Druid. And this has several advantages. It gives you a pet, which does damage and also heals you. It gives you Shield Evoke, which is just awesome if you're fighting a warrior or really any melee DPS class. Your Shield Evoke will absorb some of that damage for 30 seconds. You get Bombard, which is pretty much the only ranged attack that you're going to get as a Shaman. And you also get Feyhammer, which is going to with Ageless Ice are going to make the two skills that allow you to get your mana back. And these two skills have a duration of 10 seconds, and for each successful hit that you make melee, it restores 10% of your mana. So you're gonna get your mana real fast if you can hit someone. Of course, if you're being kited, not so helpful. And then you also have Eruption of Life, which is going to be also in your single target DPS rotation, and Crack Hammer, which is just helping out your DPS. As far as heals are concerned, you can pick Bomb of the Woods in Druid, and you also have Healing Breath here in Sentinel. If you were to choose the other more DPS oriented spec, you would only get Healing Breath, but Bomb of the Woods is not as powerful as Healing Breath, but still it's an heal and it can be very handy. Druid, what you would do is feel Strength of the Earth, feel Spirit of the Hunter, which increases your critical hit chance. This is a no-brainer. Savage Force will increase your Bombard and Eruption of Life damage. These are the two main damaging abilities that you would use from Druid, so definitely fill this one up. And also Boundless Growth allows you to use your Eruption of Life more constantly. Other than this, you have your full spec here. As far as Shaman is concerned, I personally like to fill everything up except for this, and this talent. And Endless Winter, I don't usually fill this one either. So, going on to the playstyle, you have a macro, which is easy mode in this case. And how does this work? It basically gets all your procs. Shaman is heavily based around procs. Just in Shaman you get 3. You get Fated Blow, which procs every time you dodge or parry an attack. It gets you Jolt, which procs every time you critical hit something. And you also have Glory of the Chosen, which is a heal that procs every time you are critically hit. So this is pretty much it. This macro tries to cast all your procs. Now these procs aren't included in the global cooldown, so you can just spam this. It casts Shield Evoke in a raid scenario or in a 5-man scenario. You could remove Shield Evoke unless you don't trust your tank that much. You could keep it as a precaution. Battle Charge, which allows you to jump to your target. You also have Massive Blow, dumping that cooldown. Lightning Hammer, also on a 6-second cooldown, leaving a DOT for those 6 seconds. Bombard, this is coming from the Druid tree. Basically, if none of the attacks above were able to be cast, you cast Bombard. This is usually cast as an opener. If you aren't in range to cast Battle Charge, which is only a 20-meter range, you cast Bombard, which is on a 30-meter range. Also, you have Crushing Blow, which is your spam, and can proc the Long Memory talent, which resets your Massive Blow cooldown. So I'm gonna try and find a mob here and show you how this spec plays out. PvE. So come on, I don't want to go there. Oh, there we go. So this increases your resistances. This is Courage of the Eagle, Wisdom, more DPS. Vengeance of the Winter Storm, also more DPS. On your macro, you cast Shield Evoke and then Charge, Massive Blow, leaving a DOT, Lightning Hammer, leaving a DOT, and then you basically cast your Spammer, and you see all those procs in there, and that's how easily and fast you kill stuff. It's pretty fast, while offering a lot of survivability. Now, changing to my other spec, more DPS oriented. You don't get Vuln of the Woods, so you'll miss a heal. You also miss the shield, but as you can see, you do a little bit more DPS. So if I can just find a mob over here, I'll show it to you. The macro is essentially the same, except you remove your Druid abilities and you include Sanctioned Heretic. So Sanctioned Heretic, Jolt there, Lust for Blood, Massive Blow, Lightning Hammer, leaving the DOT, and just spam Crushing Blow, and there we go. That's how fast you kill stuff. This is a pretty good spec to choose if you're going to PvE. I mean, on a raid scenario, you'll do pretty good DPS. I've seen some people top mages as far as DPS is concerned, especially if you pop Rage of the North, which allows you to crit every 1 minute and 30 seconds. As far as PvP is concerned, it's not an easy spec to play. In fact, a cleric in melee DPS, as far as PvP is concerned, neither a main shaman or a main druid can do really well. Why? Because you have really no CCs. I mean, you have impede here if you choose to go Inquisitor, but other than that, you have basically no CCs. As far as survivability is concerned, you have 2 heals and 1 heal that procs. And as far as shield is concerned, if you pick deep DPS, you don't even get a shield. So it's not that great in PvP, but if you like a challenge, I guess it's right for you. I personally like to play this on open world. It's a lot of fun to go one-on-one. But if you get 2 people on you, then I'm sorry, but you don't stand the least a chance unless you get all your procs at once every time. And that's pretty much how you play out the cleric. As far as stats are concerned, wisdom increases your spell power, your mana regen, and intelligence increases a little bit of damage and also contributes to the spell crit. In my opinion, as far as armor is concerned, I would get all my armor with wisdom, and then accessories and stuff like that with enchanted with intelligence. That's pretty much how I like to do it. Now I forgot to say, on that deep DPS tree, you also get Armor of Treachery, which increases your armor and endurance, kinda to make up for what you lost in survivability. I mean, it's your choice. Play with the 2 specs, choose whichever one you like most, and whichever one you have most fun with. This has been Melee Cleric DPS 101, and see you next time.